Good morning. I remember Jay Mulkey with Unity Church of Boerne. I'm so glad to be with you this morning. It's wonderful to be with you again and share the time we have together. Unity of Boerne, our mission statement, is one that I love and one that I was reminded of when I went up there this week to test audio and video capabilities for our church when we broadcast streaming audio and video that we feel is coming very soon. And it was wonderful to be there in a place that I love. And here we were, my helper and myself, looking at what the beautiful mission statement on the board, which is Unity of Boerne, is a vibrant, loving spiritual community, providing a sacred space for personal growth. And we honor and celebrate the Christ within all people. And it was there that last week, actually it was on Friday rather, that I walked through the place that I love so much and received the energy that I usually get from there. It was a wonderful feeling of memories of what we've all experienced in that church, what I call the house that love built. And I look so forward to us being able to recongregate as soon as we're able. And we believe that time is coming very soon. So I'd like to start out these Sunday mornings with the daily word. And our daily word for Sunday, April the 11th is imagination. I imagine limitless possibilities. In my childhood, my imagination helped me see fascinating shapes and wondrous creatures in cloud formation. Picking up a twig, I might have pretended I held a wand that gave me magical powers. An ordinary packing box could become a vessel to sail on, or under the seas, an aircraft to fly higher than mountains, or even a spaceship I could use to explore the stars. Much more than whimsy, imagination is a potent spiritual tool. I use my imagination with intention to give shape to my dreams and goals. Although my childhood may be a memory, I am grateful that I can still use my imagination to create the life of my dreams as I envision possibilities beyond the reality I know and the world I see. The scripture reading is from Luke, the 10th chapter, the 24th verse. For I tell you that many prophets and kings desired to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. And it's partially about imagination that I'd like to talk to you this morning. It seems that as we go through this time of separation, this overall situation of the pandemic, that as we're being careful to do what is right for ourselves and other people, and there's also a lingering fatigue and sort of a malaise that could set in with folks that says that I'm so tired of this, it's gone on for so long, when is life going to be normal? And I've said that I believe that everything properly begins in our minds, individually and collectively. We see on the outside what we think about in our minds, especially what our subconscious, what the Bible refers to as the heart. And Jesus said, out of the heart proceeds the issues of life. Out of the subconscious proceeds our abilities to direct ourselves, to shape circumstances, to be the answer to the problems that we have that we wish to correct or see another solution to. We don't, in unity, tell God about our problems. We tell our problems about our God. And last night, it was, for me, sort of like I wasn't feeling very good, and I thought, geez, I hope I feel better tomorrow morning. And I felt like I was being a little bit pushed by circumstances. In other words, I wasn't doing the correct talking to myself that I wanted to do to see the results that I wanted to see. And so sometime this morning, and I want to thank our Bertie Schalker for saying that she would do this speaking engagement if I couldn't. I appreciate that. But what I had to do was tell myself the truth that I live and love. And it's about this that I want to talk to you about even before last night. I envision this message as being entitled All Together Now. Because when we're all together on the inside, our world works on the outside. We find situations come together. Because in large part, we get what we're looking for. Our moods, our predominant attitudes of mind, in large part, direct our circumstances. And there are times that you have to look at yourself and tell yourself what you're going to feel. We live in a world that places a premium on outside events, outside occurrences, as being the molders of our opinions. But I believe that what we tell ourselves on the inside is in large part what we get. Now, we're not God with a capital G, but we're certainly God of our own thoughts, our own minds. Do you remember that Jesus, when he healed, said it was your faith that made you whole? It was that in his presence, people told themselves a different story about themselves. He saw the inherent divinity within each person that came to him because he knew his own divinity. One of the great things that I loved about Unity from so long ago, the writings for 100 years ago, was the idea that the Christ in me salutes the Christ in you. It's a way of recognizing who we truly are, who we are meant and built to be, to experience the life more abundant, to tell our circumstances about our God, to tell our circumstances about the way we want to direct our lives. And we believe in the law of good. And the law of good states that what you think about, you bring about. And in many cases, that is exactly the truth. We don't want to think that we're as powerful as we are. I've said that Marianne Williamson said something beautiful in her book. She said, and she was quoting Nelson Mandela in her book, Return to Love, she said, our fear is not that we're powerless, it's that we're powerful beyond all measure, that we really have the tools and the rudiments to create our lives. And that's an awesome responsibility. And some people want to shift that responsibility, hide behind certain issues in their lives, say it's too difficult, it's too hard. There is nothing too difficult and too hard when you recognize the truth of your being, when you salute your own divinity inside, when you take yourself by the spiritual hand and say, this is what I want to bring about. I'm going to see this. It's going to happen. And if enough of us do that, if we become straight on the inside, I think we see this pandemic end that much sooner. Chaos is not a law of the universe. It's certainly not something that was instituted by God. The laws of mind are as true now as they were 1,000,000 years ago. It's God's truth, and it was revealed to us by those who were forward-thinking, those who knew how to prophesy about what they wanted to bring about. Now, sometimes in the Old Testament, they would prophesy events and say things that, and write things that had to do with God as being a vengeful, angry entity, because they thought that everything that happened to them emanated from the outside. They didn't understand natural laws. They didn't understand the idea, the law of mind. It really took Christ Jesus to come to us, to teach us the wonderful truths that he repeated. I have come to set the captives free, to proclaim the wonderful day of the Lord, to preach healing to the sick, sight to the blind, and freedom to those in bondage. We can't forget our heritage because we're having a difficult time. We can't forget it collectively. We can't forget it individually. And when you run your life this way, you're going to run into some people who tell you that they don't like it. They don't like it when you run yourself. They don't like it when you make your own decisions. But you see, you're the one, win, lose, or draw, that has to live with it. So it's fine to listen to wise counsel. Don't be completely stubborn. Sometimes people can see things from a frame of reference that you can't. You weigh the data and you come to a decision that clicks or works inside of you. Not family members, not spouses, not those who may want to control you for some reason. You run you. Because even if you have had a negative experience doing that, because you weren't quite sure how to follow the truth of your being, at least you own it. And when you own it, you're able to take it and make of it what you want. But if you blame it on somebody else, then they're in charge of you and they're running you. It's wonderful to be cooperative. It's great to listen, as I said, to other people, but you have to make your decisions for yourself. And one of the things that I feel so strongly about is that the thoughts that we have in our mind truly produce after their kind. You're thinking it, and thank God there's a pause usually before it happens on the outer. You get to think about it and you might say, do I really want to have what I'm thinking about right now replicated outside of me? That's a good question that we all should ask. We should take stock of our mental contents right now and ask, is what I'm thinking and what I am affirming in my mind? And remember, you can affirm the negative. You can believe things about yourself that aren't true. So you have to line yourself up with the law of good. I do that. I know you probably do it. People that go inside and ask themselves the questions, they are their authority. Them and the God within are the authority for what they're going to do with their lives. Otherwise, you live sort of a half-life that is at the mercy of the whims and the opinions and the desires of others. And I come here this morning to say to you, in the name of everything that I hold dear, that you are a powerful, and when you choose to be conscious creator, you get to enjoy the benefits of being a decision-making entity with the truth of your being. And what is the truth of your being? The truth is, you have a place in you that's never been sick, that's never been disturbed, that's never been uncomfortable, it's never been hurt, and it's never been affected by circumstances. It is, as I've said before, your portable paradise. It is the place where God presides. And I'm lifting a little bit from the great Dr. Smiley Blanton, the Freudian psychiatrist that worked with Dr. Norman Vincent Peale the early part of the century. When asked what the subconscious was, Dr. Blanton said, it is the place where God presides. So you go to bed at night and you begin, one of the things that I do, you begin to tell yourself at night, especially good because when you're dropping off to sleep, you're very suggestible. That's why one thing I've never done is gone to sleep with the television on, because I don't want any stuff to come through that's negative, to chart my course for me. I don't want to have any of that replicated. I make sure that it's off and that I'm telling myself all the truth I know and that I'm lining myself up for as much success as I can get. So a good time to program your subconscious mind is in the evening at sleep, and then in meditation, contemplation, visualization, anytime during the day. But the sum total of what I'm talking about is directing yourself through the God presence within you. Now you may find that you have to surrender some thoughts about yourself that aren't true, and they never were true. Thoughts like, I'm weak, I'm unable, I just can't do this because my aunt told me I can't, or my mother told me I can't, or my sister told me I can't. Or don't you see, I'm not supposed to rise higher than where I've been, where my family's been. They're not going to like it. But you have to decide for yourself how high you want to rise, what you can live with and what you can't live with. And for me, what I live with is my opinion of myself. I know when I'm doing my best, and I know when I could do a little more. Walking down the trail of my church this last Friday, I was reminded of the constancy of nature. In God's world, there is no hurry, worry, or rush. There are only people thinking hurried, worried, and rushed thoughts. So when I looked at the beautiful landscaping that was around me, the tall trees, the grass, the rocks, the wooded area, I became excited again. I knew that my soul was at a place that I loved and which I found peace. And so all kinds of ideas began to come to me about what we're going to do when we recongregate in physical form at our church. Now, we congregate together like this because we know that there is no space between us except thoughts. I mean, in the spirit we're together, but we enjoy also being together. And the more that we visualize our own power and straighten ourselves out on the inside and think the proper thoughts about anything that's going on around us, the quicker we're going to be able to do the things that we want to do. It starts with a thought. It's really that simple. There's nothing outside of you that decides for you. You listen to information and you make your own decisions about that information. And as I said, sometimes it's wise to listen to counsel. But ultimately, you have to live with you. And you know, and you're able to judge and evaluate whether you're where you want to be or whether you allowed fear to make a decision in your stead. So I encourage you today, the things that you've thought that you can't do, that you want to do, write them down. In no particular order, just let them come as you see them out on the piece of paper. And write the belief about each one of those things next to it. So for instance, if you want another job and you haven't been able to manifest that, what belief do you have about that that's keeping you from getting what you want? You see, it always starts with self-concept. The Bible, to me, is the greatest book of self-image psychology. We're told that we're the light of the world, the salt of the earth. There are many people that like to concentrate on the negative aspects of Scripture, those parts of Scripture that were written without an understanding of the natural world. But Jesus, if you look at the red letters in, the red line edition in the Bible, the words of Christ are in red. You see consistently life more abundant, joy full, that as you think in your heart, so are you, and the heart we know is the subconscious. Our lives proceed directly from our thoughts. I made another decision last night when I didn't feel very well. I continued to make it this morning. And it lined up with my intent. And it usually does. Now, there'll be times that you may feel led to, as it says, sometimes the holiest thing you can do is take a nap. Rest. But sometimes you have to tell your problem or your feeling about who you are. And we know in Unity who we are. It's one of the first things we learn when we come into a church. We learn the 5 principles. We learn that God is omnipresent, all equally available, omniscient, that thought is created, and that we participate in the manifestation of our prayers and our blessings. I get very excited about this. It's hard for me. I have to sit on my hands. I was in the church with my dear friend Tom Allen when we were doing the sound check. And he said, would you just give a few paragraphs? And all of a sudden I found myself going into a message. And I was talking 10 minutes. I thought, gee, you can't shut me up. It's just as if it all came back. I love where we are. I love what we do. And I love the energy that's in that place. Because I tell myself and remember the wonderful blessings that we have enjoyed in that place. There is a bond of energy when we're together that's even more, it's bigger than what we are individually. We come together in a spirit of love to uphold each other, to share our guidance with each other, to look for the good, the pure, the powerful, and the positive. We affirm this, and we live this. And then, I've heard some people say, all of a sudden the pandemic derailed this. No, it didn't. Pandemic didn't derail our thoughts. We still get to choose what we think about it. And I believe that the more that we apply truth to this pandemic, the thoughts of the good, the pure, and the powerful, the quicker that this is over. But if we're thinking fearful thoughts about it, if we believe that we're somehow shaped and formed by this, then I think we slow down the blessings. I think we have to speak to ourselves and speak to it. We have a vaccination right now for coronavirus that many people have taken, and we're glad that they've chosen that. But I'm not so sure that we don't need a vaccination against fear. And the only way that we can get the vaccination against fear is when we administer it ourselves, based on what we tell ourselves, what we listen to, whether it's through something like this, or a favorite author, or a favorite speaker, whatever it may be. We speak the truth of our being, and we let that fill in the way it must. Now, some people, when you say get up, they're not able to, but we're always able to get up on the inside. When you get up on the inside, you increase your chances of being able to do what you want on the outside. It all emanates from thought. Thought is the master maker, the molder, as James Allen wrote in As a Man Thinketh. Circumstances don't make a man, they reveal him. And the circumstances reveal him to himself. And so it's been said that some of the loneliest times that a person can go through is that time in the middle of the night when it's just them looking at themselves in the mirror, and they know if they've cheated the person that's looking in that glass. You know if you haven't given to yourself what you want. And you also have a chance, usually, to start over again, aligning your thoughts with the best, challenging yourself, refusing to coddle regrets and resentments and angers and judgments and frustrations and all this negative stuff that piles up like electric static on the carpet. I mean, it piles up, and you ever seen it? And this is one thing that I just can't stand. It happens. You walk across a carpet in the winter, and sometimes in the summer, you accrue all this energy, and you touch something metal, and bam! And sometimes I've seen a spark come off of it. That's a reminder to me of how powerful energy is. The thoughts are energy. The soul has its own energy. It's just that we can't quantify it the way we do a natural law. We know it's there because we're making decisions and we're living our lives, even if those decisions don't produce the fruitage that we want. Mary Baker Eddy said, "To those leaning on the sustaining infinite, today is big with blessings." When you lean on the sustaining infinite, it's not a Christ that's outside of you. It's not a Christ that's judging you and looking down on you. It's a Christ that upholds you, that says, I am the truth of your being. I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. And as you think, so shall it be. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. That you sow, you shall also reap. The sowing part, in large part, takes place in the mind. And we reap those effects, and then we complain about it. So get your paper, write down limiting beliefs that you might have about yourself. Ask yourself why you believed that. Who told you that? What power did they have over you? Were they an authority figure? Were they somebody who was a relative of yours who maybe had a stake in you not feeling as powerful as you really are? You know, there are people that don't want you to rise any higher than they have. That's why poverty is so difficult sometimes to shake in a family, because it's almost carried like baggage generation after generation until somebody makes the decision to say, enough of this, I'm going to start a new cause in motion. Whether it's if you feel puny or you want to make a huge change in your life, it still proceeds with your thinking. You're powerful. I'm powerful. You tell your problems about who you are. You tell how you feel. You tell about what you feel. You decide. You get to choose. The greatest thing in the world is the power to choose. It's been said that the greatest freedom in the world is the power to choose one's way throughout whatever circumstances they may be going through. And if you think that I mean this in a trite, superficial way, I would remind you about one of my favorite stories. It's true. Dr. Viktor Frankl in World War II, stripped of everything. He was a doctor, and the Nazis threw him in a concentration camp, stripped him down to nothing, and even asked for his wedding ring. Frankl made it through that concentration camp experience largely because he made a decision that he wasn't going to allow those people to tell him who he was. He said, you can take everything from me, but my freedom to think about you how I choose. So he underwent deprivation and all kinds of agonies and heartaches. But he made it through, and he founded a school of psychotherapy called Logotherapy that's used to this day. And he lived to be an old man teaching the power of words, the power of our internal dialogue, power of thought. Now, some people would say it was very unfair for Frankl to be thrown in there, and it was. But what did he make of that time? A world-famous branch of psychotherapy that is used to this day, logotherapy. Logos meaning the word. So I invite you this morning to check your cherished assumptions about yourself. See what you believe in your heart about who and what you are. Writing helps. Having a blank piece of paper and just letting that pen go. Getting limited ideas you may have about yourself and then asking yourself why. And whose voice do you hear when you hear a limiting thought? Does it sound like a parent, a teacher, a sibling? That's for you to decide. Listen closely and you'll find it. It's there. You know, the secret is not outside of you, it's in you. It's in life and death is in the power of the tongue. And that power comes from the subconscious mind and the conscious mind according to what you feed it and what proceeds out of your mouth. So today I challenge you to think the very best thoughts about yourself. Rise higher, bigger, and better. Be a grander version of yourself. Forgive this pandemic if you have to. That happened to me out on the trail that I told you about a while back. This has robbed me, I said, this pandemic has robbed me of being able to walk down here and receive the sustenance and spiritual nourishment that I love. But did it? I still had the opportunity to walk down there. I just had to remind myself to get my hurt feelings out of the way and be present in that moment. And that's a subject for another time, our presence in the moment. But that's where we change our lives in a series of moments, or a moment when we say, I'm drawing my line in the sand, and this is what I'm going to be, win, lose, or draw. It's a wonderful way to live. It's the truthful way to live. It's the affirming truth about yourself. What you say when you talk to yourself is everything. So say the very best. Be part of that this morning. See yourself bigger, bolder, and grander. And tell your problems about who you are. God bless you and thank you for being here this morning. I'd like to do a little meditation that I hope will help center us in remembering the truth of our being. And I love to be in this place. You know, I've broadcast from here many times, this wonderful waterfall that's down not too far from where I live. This is a church property, and there are benches for people to sit on. And I've been coming here since I was 9 years old. That's more years than I care to think about. And the one thing that I've noticed about it is it's a little smaller now than I thought it was. You know, as we grow up, we have these ideas, you know, that everything's because we're small, it's big. But it's just a lovely place to come and be refreshed. And I do it as often as I can. So I'd like you to join with me in this moment right now, remembering the truth of your being as we do some meditative affirmations. And I thank you for your wonderful comments. Nettie and Bob and Tom and all of you, everybody that's watching. It's wonderful to be with you this morning, and I can feel your affirmation towards me, and I hope you feel mine towards you as we start right here. Let's take a moment for you to be aware of where you are, your feet on the floor, your palms perhaps turned upwards or maybe across your legs. Take a deep breath right now, maybe two, whatever it takes for you to feel that calm center, the centering prayer that Basil Pennington talked about. It's a small little book, I recommend it, called Centering Prayer. Very thin. He says in a very few words the truth. The prayer that centers is the effective prayer. So we're going to affirmatively pray right now through meditation. Infinite Presence, we give thanks for our beingness, for those that are joining me across space and time. I give thanks that I am able to be here with them. And we know the truth of our being. We right now cast off and release every burden that is unlike who we are. We tell ourselves a new story about ourselves. We forgive those in the past that may have made us feel that we weren't as powerful and creative and even lovable as we were and are. We forgive that right now. We give that up, and we tell ourselves a new story about ourselves. That we embody and reflect the love, the truth, and the ground of our being. And that we know that no mistake that we've made, no situation that we've endured, has the power, ultimately, to shape us unless we give it that power. We claim new blessings right here and now. We give for the good we want. We give up every idea of limitation, every idea of weakness, every idea of not being consonant with the truth of our being. We feel the relaxation that comes with the calm certainty of remembering who we are. We're thankful that we're able to come to this time of recreation, that we're able to come to this time of realization of who and whose we are. All limiting ideas are released now into the nothingness from whence they came. And we embrace the pure potentiality of the ground of our being and know that it is done to us as we believe. We give thanks for fresh new beginnings. And we boldly go forth to meet our good right here, right now. And so it is. God bless you for being here this morning. I'm so thankful that you joined with me. I would like to tell you that as a ministry, we have bills and obligations. I would hope that you are moved to be able to send a tithe or offering to our ministry. This is how we continue to grow and expand through your free will offerings and gifts. I ask you to send your best gift to Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. That's Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. I look forward to seeing you tonight at book study for those who come at 7 o'clock by Zoom. And so I invite you now. I want to get that in before I forgot it. Take the gift in your hand you have right now. And if you don't have a tangible gift, picture something that you are thankful for. But ideally, take the gift in your hand and repeat after me. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I send it forth with my blessings and my love. And know that when you participate in the divine law of giving and receiving, it is done unto you as you believe. God bless each and every one of you. I'm so glad you were here this morning. Tell yourself the story you want to live. Believe it. Be part of it. Nurture it. Love it. And watch it happen. Look forward to seeing you again this time next week. Until then, may God richly bless you. Oh, prayer for protection. Together, and I'm sure you all know it, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you for being here this morning, and have a wonderful, blessed week.